range transportation. This particular coach, I told you, came from Melbourne, Australia in 1928, so 97 years old. It's powered by four 40-horse electric motors. The power to these motors is supplied by 600 volts of direct current. You'll notice there's an operator's booth at each end of the trolley, where there's no front or back of the trolley. When we reach one end, John just simply lowers the power pole, puts it up on the other end, and we travel over the same route but in the opposite direction. The Mesaba Railway Company started the first and only interurban electric transportation on the Iron Range in 1912. The first trolley departed the city of Virginia, its hub, on December 24th, Christmas Eve at 5 a.m. It traveled east 8 miles to the town of Gilbert, which is now the Whistling Bird restaurant, for the cost of 20 cents. Soon the route expanded west 22 miles to Hibbing, which is the Boomtown Brewery. So the Whistling Bird that I talk about today in Gilbert, the Boomtown restaurant in Hibbing, that's the hub of the trolley, where it was started years ago. Totaling 30 miles of track, 6 trolleys offering hourly services 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. They were the most modern available and were equipped with modern conveniences such as heat, smoking cars, and toilet services. And if you looked in that caboose up there, it'd be my job to tell you, you can use the bathroom, but please wait until you get out of the town. And if you look in there, you'll know why I say that. The Mesaba Railway soon began to change life on the Iron Range. People had more choices of where to live, where to shop, and where to find entertainment. Up until this time, public transportation was particularly non-existent. The horse and buggy brought people between towns on rough trails. There were very few cars and limited railroad transportation. Most people just walked. A majority of the population lived in the mining locations, like the one we will be visiting shortly. So in the mid-1800s, John Pillsbury bought 10,000 acres of land for its white pine lumber. Mr. Russell Bennett, a surveyor, found hematite ore on the property. He worked out a deal with John Pillsbury, the same Pillsbury that's our baker. If Bennett could find 100,000 tons of marketable ore on the property, he would get half the interest of the iron mine. Pillsbury agreed. Meanwhile, Bennett hired Ed Longyear, a diamond driller, to find the ore veins. Half of Bennett's profits would go to Longyear. Within 10 years, they were shipping 1 million tons a year. The mine operated from 1898 until 1908. So as you see here, we just passed our Pillsbury station. We have now entered into the Pillsbury mine pit. This pit was split into two when Highway 169 was built. On the right of the highway is the Pillsbury pit, and on the left is the Pillsbury, along with the Leonard, the Monroe, the Glen, the Douglas, and the Dunwoody mines, which the Dunwoody mines is an institute in the Minneapolis area, and they also got their start up here. They gradually grew together into one large pit. We will stop briefly so you can enjoy the view and take pictures if you'd like, but just please remain seated until our trolley comes to a complete stop. So just some facts about Highway 169. In 2009, Highway 169 had a partial collapse. So from here all the way to the east end of Chisholm, it is built like a bridge. So even though it just looks like a road, it is built like a bridge to withstand any cave-ins, because underneath us is a bunch of mine shafts and the way they used to go down, but a lot of them are all filled in. So I think most of Chisholm probably has a lot of mine shafts. They said that we know more underground what we will know above ground. We'll be stopping in just a little bit so you can see this. It is my Minnesota Grand Canyon. It is so beautiful. We just can't get out here. So this area here is a series of mine pits that's 2 miles long, 3/4 of a mile wide, at about 225 feet right now. There's 25 billion gallons of water in this pit alone. Water comes from rain, underground springs, and water runoff. So due to the above and underground mining that has occurred, there is no random walking. But about 4 years ago, if you look, not this first pit, but that second pit out there, we created a beach, which really, if you've ever been to a mine pit, you better have a life jacket. There's really not a beach. You just go out and down you go 225 feet, about 100 years, and we're going to go 1900s. This is our longest straight section of the track, and John might pick it up after we get through this spring switch. And to show you what it was like to ride a trolley years ago. The average speed on the Masaba Railway was about 18 to 40 miles an hour. Trolleys occasionally got into accidents, collided with animals, people, and other trolleys. Deer are often seen on these tracks in the early morning. We're not going to collide with another trolley. We're the only trolley on the track. John's going to watch for deer or any other animals. We're going to be careful. You might not have wanted to ride on a trolley on a Friday years ago because there was one rabbi in town and the women used to bring their chickens on to be blessed by the rabbi. Maybe wanted to ride with the chickens, you know. So what I forgot to mention is that I'm born and raised here. A Trolley Ranger John was a pack stacker. He came here looking for work with a pack on his back. Actually flew in because his last job he worked for Delta Airlines. He's retired. I'm still working. I gotta work for a few more years, yeah. Maybe till I'm 90. This job I worked that long, but I don't know if I can be a paraprofessional till I'm 90. With little 5-year-olds, you know, I usually work from anywhere from 4 to 3rd grade. So right here, another thing is if you see those beautiful power poles, those were actually on the other side of the highway, but hitting taconite, found more taconite. So a few years ago, they helped put those over here by helicopters because if they find taconite, we move roads, you know, we move power poles because that's the bread and butter of the Iron Range. The trolley barn is on the right side of our trolley. Here you're going to see a replica of an 1890 engine house. So it has a cupola top because when they had a steam engine here, they used to just back it in, open that up, and that's where the steam was let out. We use this for the building. For Minnesota Discovery Center uses this building for repairs and storage of our 2 trolleys. We have a sister trolley just like this inside, a 1940s locomotive. Next to our trolley barn is a 1923 boxcar. Also, we have a speeder, which Ray takes out with a chainsaw in the last few weeks when we had a lot of trees down. A few Sundays ago, we couldn't even run our trolley. There was so much damage of all the trees that came down here, but we got it back up. It's not because our trolley was damaged, but there was so many trees across our tracks. The water tank was used when we had a steam engine in 1980. That's where John and I begin and start our day. So we like to keep our trolleys out of the elements. Like I said, you can just call up Amazon and say, we need a part for our trolley, right? We just, not that easy, but they are pretty well maintained. This is what the Glen looked like years ago, that one right there. I'll talk about that on our next stop. We have them in each boxcar, which I like now. So coming up to the clearing in our left, you're going to see the last remaining original wooden water tower on the Iron Range. So it was built in 1910 and it came to us from the Canasteel mine outside of Beauvais. That water tower was built with like slats, so as it was filled with water, it would heat up, or it would expand, and then the water did not drain out. Surrounding our water tower is a collection of antique mining equipment that was also used in the Canasteel mine. That dump truck you see there is a 35-ton ore capacity, which is very small compared to modern-day trucks at Hibbing Tack, which haul 240 tons. SR Steel is supposed to be opening up, and they are supposed to have a self-driving truck that's over 400 tons. We'll see. The water tower, the shovel, the drills, and the production trucks were donated to us by Root and Freiberger Mining Company of Hibbing. They started mining in 1938 and ended in 1990. They did scram mining where they would follow the veins of hematite, use smaller equipment to extract the ore from the ground. They were the last hematite mining company in the area. These buildings you see here are part of Minnesota Discovery Center's Glen location site. On the Iron Range, a residential area built close to the mining operation was referred to as a location. This is where the immigrant miners and their families lived. These buildings were brought here to create the feeling of the original Glen location, which is located not far from here. So that red house there, that's the Hills Finn boarding house. I don't know what the temp is today, but it's nice out. Beautiful day. So at the height of the Glen location, it had 50 family homes, a garden, a skating rink, a school, a police station. Rent was about $5 to $10 per month. Families could have gardens and then yard for the kids to play. But if you were ever caught talking about joining a union, you were completely evicted. Here's what it looks like. If you want to see closer. Not only from here, but the whole United States. So you're blackballed and you could not work in any mining companies. So we talked about hot sheeting. There was 43 ethnic groups that came to the Iron Range. You know, there was several different ethnicities. And I will talk about it in just a minute here. We're going to stop at what's our real Glen location. But so if you were kicked out or blackballed from mining, that's how gardening started. And years ago, even now, gardening is not very easy up here on the Iron Range. One thing, we don't have a very long season to garden, but that's how Twibola, Meadowlands, all those communities develop gardens. And then I forgot to mention, did any of you get back to that little house to see how many people live there? 13. Yeah, our next thing is a diamond core drill. John will kind of show up on the left side of our trolley. And it's a 1940s drill, long year drill. So we have long year Lake and Chisholm. We have the Bennett Park and Hibbing. We have the Greyhound Bus Museum. All those things that I talk about are all kind of located in this area. So here's a diamond core drill because, you know, picking a shovel, digging down, you can see a lot of trees have fallen. This year even I can see them in the woods here. We're lucky. I heard that Bemidji, and it is true, lost over 1 million trees. And you can see it. My cousin lives in Cass Lake, which is sad. There it is right there. It's a diamond core drill, gas-powered drill. So they would use that to go down to look for the core samples. Sometimes locations ceased to exist like the Glen location did in 1935 because of the rich iron ore discovered beneath the towns. Houses were either moved to a nearby location or demolished. I told these people about it, but it was one thing to come to out of the store and you can't find your car, but how would you like to come home and not find your house? So the houses were on skids because they were moved if they found iron ore under them. Another thing I forgot to mention is, like, if John was working and he was injured and there was nobody else to work, that's when you were also kicked off, because everybody that lived at the location had to be actively working in the mine. In 1921, the Oliver Mining Company paid to add 8 miles of new track between Hibbing and Chisholm because they moved the town of Hibbing 2 miles south of its current location due to the iron ore discovered under the town. Just a few years later, new all-weather roads were built on the Iron Range for a new and exciting mode of transportation, the automobile. A brief story of the Greyhound. Carl Whitman, he was a laid-off drill operator. He started a Hummobile dealership, but he could not sell a car. Everybody wanted to ride in his car, but nobody wanted to buy it. He got together with Andy Anderson to use their Hummobile, so it was like 7 passengers, long running boards. And it was said that he piled 17 passengers on that 7 because he'd let them stand. The other nickname is a snooze-mobile because you could not chew or smoke on the trolley. So they would line up and you wouldn't want to follow too close to the Hummmobile. They bring people from the locations to Hibbing for 15 cents. So you go and steal the riders on the trolley. And in 1914, the rides became very popular, and through several mergers, over time became the Greyhound Bus Company. Popularity of the automobile, expansion of the Greyhound bus, led to the end of the Mesaba Railway in 1927. The trolleys that were on the Iron Range were either sold or destroyed. The only remaining trolley is in Excelsior, Minnesota. As you can see, we have made one large loop and are now returning to the museum. That trolley in Excelsior, Minnesota, a man lived in there for about 40 years. They found him deceased. John has actually been down there and they are restoring that trolley. They're leaving part of it to the original, but then they're restoring some, and then, I don't know if they're going to use it like us. I'm not exactly sure yet, so I should maybe research, or I just ask John when he comes back from his trip there. It's easier than researching it all. As the iron ore in the Mesaba Range proved to be too soft to be mined safely underground, the mining companies converted to the open pit method of ore extraction. The Glen mine yielded more than 13 million tons of hematite between 1902 and its close in 1957. During World War II, Minnesota Iron Range supplied about 75% of the iron needed for the war efforts, approximately 400 million tons of ore. We saved the world. The iron extracted from the mines of Minnesota Iron Range provided the steel that built America. So those booms we kind of passed by already, you saw up there, that actually holds our amphitheater. We've had some beautiful concerts this summer. We had 1,600 seat amphitheater, which we had a Killer Queen concert that we sold 1,800 because we sold a couple hundred grass seats. And that amphitheater, the seats in there are from our Twin Stadium, our old Twin Stadium and the old Viking Stadium where Killebrew played. And John told me that the seat is still, or whole plate I guess, is still in the Mall of America, in the Camp Mall of America. It used to be Camp Snoopy, so you can read about that there. We did pass our Pillsbury station that was dedicated in 1986 by John Pillsbury III in memory of his grandfather John Pillsbury Sr. The Pillsbury operated the mine, but you will recognize their name best when you eat a cupcake or a cake, the Pillsbury Baking Company. And also on the right side of the trolley that we passed was an 1890 Armstrong turntable. It was one of several surviving in the country. It's so well balanced that it just takes John and I to completely rotate a locomotive. It came to us from Canby, Minnesota. Actually, John and I would rather take the controllers and just switch them from one end to the other. So to the left here, you probably saw it on our way down. It was commissioned in 1976 for the bicentennial year. It's our Iron Man statue. Its real name is titled The Emergence of Man Through Steel. It was meant to project the strength, humility, and weariness of an Iron Range miner at the end of a hard day's work. He does stand 83 feet tall. He's the fourth largest in the U.S. behind the Statue of Liberty, Our Ladies of the Rockies, and the Pegasus Dragon. He is copper and brass overlay where he does not rust. His base is made of good old Masaba ore. He's supposed to represent a miner after a hard day's work, and he is modeled after Dan Tolanen from Chisholm Min, a local miner, both underground and open pit. But he reminds me of my father and the miners that are still working today. He was sculpted by Mr. Jack Anderson. He does have a light on his helmet. For 25 years, that light bulb never lit up. In July of 2020, Ryan Baumgart from Independent Electric came here. I'm going to have a picture. I looked it up. He went up there, he changed that bulb, and he does light up beautifully at night. Sometimes it takes 25 years to change a light bulb. As we approach the museum, on behalf of myself, Beverly, and Motorman John, I'd like to thank you all for riding Minnesota Discovery Center's unique railway system. We hope you take time to explore your Iron Range history in our museum, maybe dig into your family roots in our research center. There's so much to learn and explore here. I'd be happy to direct you to activities after we disembark our trolley. Thank you again here for riding our trolley here at Minnesota Discovery Center. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you're going to do. And thank you for visiting us here at Minnesota Discovery Center. I have our little